Welcome to T's Voices, telling the stories of the people in our NHS community.
Hello everybody, we are back with a third International Women's Day podcast. We're excited to be here. So it's me, Natasha McManus. I am the Women's Network lead. I'm also your pelvic health physio for North Tees and Hartlepool. And we've got...
I'm Helen Waller. I am day-to-day job is health and wellbeing advisor, but I help Natasha as much as I possibly can.
Amazingly.
With the Women's Network.
You do. Absolutely. And without you, where would we be? And we've got a really special guest. Stop laughing, but I actually truly think this is an amazing opportunity for us to have you. So we've got Matt. Do you want to introduce yourself?
So my name is Matt. My day job is as a clinical coder, and I'm also the LGBTQ plus staff network lead. I think the sort of special part about me, I guess, is the fact that I'm a trans man. So I guess I sort of have a bit of a unique perspective and a bit of an insider ally, because
Definitely.
I didn't transition till I was like 28, so I've spent most of my life female presenting, living as a woman, so I've got some sort of shared experiences of both sides, I guess.
Yeah, like we were just chatting before when you said about how you've embodied not the person you feel, and then living in a woman's body, experiencing these experiences that we experience as a woman, but not feeling like you're in the right body, and then living with it. That's such an insight, isn't it? Like really amazing to think about.
Yeah, it's a like, because I understand some of the things, like obviously I grew up sort of trying to fit that feminine mold, thinking this is how I need to be accepted and to be not bullied basically at school. So I lent into that, but it wasn't me. So I get those pressures. Yeah. But I also have that experience of, because I was living in a female body, I experienced having periods. I experienced, that...
The society norms.
Yeah, the norm and sort of having to feel like that and things like that. But then when I transitioned, obviously I went from, one day I was sort of living and presenting as a woman, the next I was living and presenting as a man, but I was still the exact same person, but the world had very different expectations, and there was a massive shift to navigate.
It's just thinking about what you said there about fitting in the box for a woman. Like, that is such a powerful thing to say, because we often do fit in a box. Either we are too loud. Someone called me, what was it? Someone said to me that I was a bit aggressive once, and I was like, no, this is passionate. And I appreciate that may come across as aggression, but if I this is just me maybe, if I didn't look like a female, then maybe that wouldn't come across as aggression, then maybe that would come across as power, and that's really important to say, is that we do fit into a box, and even still today, misogyny is a thing. It still happens. There's still inequalities and discrepancies within healthcare and workplaces for women, and you experienced that, like you said, when you were how old? In school?
Like growing up in schools, like going into secondary school, I cut my hair short, so I sort of trying to be the boy that I sort of subconsciously knew who I was. And I got bullied for that. So I then, to be accepted and to not get called names, I sort of shifted and went full into, trying to be a girl. A girl
expected to look like, which again is a...
Yeah, sort of experiencing that, and then, going through puberty and having my chest develop. And that irony of... that I was really uncomfortable with having a large chest, but that was how I got attention and acceptance, and felt like attractive or wanted sort of thing for something I was like really uncomfortable with. And for me it was because I was really a man. I imagine other like cis women will have that similar thing. It might not be about breast, but it was like something about being this sort of typical female, typical femininity that you don't enjoy, but you feel like you need to perform in order to accepted,
So
and
true.
valued.
So interesting. My friend actually, I'm not going to tell her, say her name. I'm sure she won't mind me telling. But when she was at school, she sellotaped her boobs down because she was sexualized at school from her friends, peers, because she grew boobs. It's such a weird thing that we go, like a journey that we go through, isn't it? Yeah, thank you for that, Matt. So welcome.
Very long introduction.
I love the long introduction. We're here for that, Matt. We're here for it. So, Helen was going to give us a little update for the network.
So at this moment in time, I'm collating all the great nominations for Wonder Woman. We put that out a few weeks ago. We're up to 60 nominations.
That's amazing.
Yeah, some of them there's numerous people that sort of nominated the same person.
Multiple times, great.
Yeah, so, and it's just so empowering to sort of read why somebody wants to big somebody up and taking that time out of their sort of day to sort of write out why they think that person is so incredible, and some of the sort of things that our women do in our sort of workplace. It's incredible.
Yeah. I think when we started this 3 years ago, we've always got more and more and more nominations as the time goes on. But when you do read through them, because sometimes you're in your own little space at work, and there is workplace stress for different reasons, and it could be that it's personal stress and you're coming into work and then you're triggered slightly a little bit more easier at work or whatever. You live in your own little silo. So for us, it's quite nice, isn't it, when we're reading through, because it brings us out and you think, wow, there's people out there doing phenomenal stuff. I mean, I've put a nomination in this year, which I don't think I did last year. Bad me. But and I felt truly passionate about what I was saying about this person because she is incredible, and I don't think typically as women we stand up for ourselves and say, I'm doing an amazing job. I am brilliant at what I do, and I'm helping people, and I'm doing this. And I think there's nothing wrong with showboating. Like, let's showboat each other. Let's showboat ourselves. So
everybody's sort of
across the
involved.
board.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's important, isn't it? We want to feel connected, everyone, to see each other, what we're doing, and bridge those gaps potentially across systems and services, which is nice. Okay, so we're going to introduce this year's International Women's Day topic. So this year is Give and to Gain. I think for me, it's really resonated with me, this one, because it's very much about creating those building blocks to progress people in whatever they're doing, whether this be personally, professionally, or whatever. So the campaign encourages a mindset of collaboration and generosity to try and support each other in the roles that we are. But this doesn't mean women supporting women, or it's not always about the woman or women. It's about collaborating and growing women to be comfortable in their shoes all the time so that they can do a great job. So I started actually as part of the Women's Network, a reciprocal mentorship program with one of our leads in the trust, and it's been really insightful. So it's given me the opportunity to ask questions, stupid questions. You always feel uncomfortable asking those stupid questions, or even really vulnerable questions, like, why are you in leadership? What makes you think that you got to the place that you're at? And because I don't know where my journey is going to lead from a professional perspective, but I want to make my service the best it can be. And I think having that insight from a leadership or strategic, essentially, perspective is really empowering for me, and it's really given me food for thought. So it works well with this year's campaign. I'm very much in that give and gain. So I'm giving the leader who I'm working with a woman's insight. So he's asking me questions around, how would this be received in my team? I'm doing this, which I think is really empowering. So important that we've got leaders in the trust who are aware aware that something so simple as could be, changes in your hormones, menopause or period or fertility, or we are completely different. Male and female understanding of things are very different. So it's nice that somebody, as a whole, potentially we're moving forward to change our viewpoint of how we respond to things and take into consideration of other people's situations. So really good, this one for me.
I think it should be that it should the situation, it shouldn't be just gender specific.
No, definitely not.
And it should be left at the door, and it's just a case of, right, we've got a problem on our sort of table, we need to solve it. And it shouldn't be how's the best, navigating it to the best way, rather than, well, it's a woman's issue, so... Yeah,
exactly. Because it doesn't matter. It's not a woman's issue, is it? Menopause is an everyone issue, because women are in... Particularly in the NHS, most people working here are women in a menopausal age group.
Yeah.
That category is what drives the NHS. I mean, our chief exec is a woman. We've got all these people in powerful positions who are going through this process. And if we don't understand that truly, how are we going to work together? It needs to be a collaboration, a collaborative approach of healthcare. We work in healthcare. So it's so important. That's so important. I think this campaign is really good. What's your thoughts on this campaign?
It's an interesting one, because we shouldn't be sort of still having this discussion. I think that in 2026 we should be sort of putting the agendas to one side, and it should be for the best of the whatever society, whatever's going on. But we are where we are, and I think it's a case that we just need to listen to people. I think it's a case of we may have this idea what people may need, but be curious. And I think that's one of my pledges, is that let's be curious about what people actually need, not women what they need, but what do people need to sort of thrive. And that's the end of the question for me.
I think that's great. That's great, because then again that links back to give and gain, understand to grow. It doesn't have to be in a protected box, does it?
No.
I think having those protected boxes are really important, because sometimes we're not aware. So I realised I wasn't aware of something recently, and it really changed my practice. And as soon as I was aware of it, I thought, oh, wow, there's so much out there I don't know. and that it can be quite detrimental to somebody. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the same. It's like, I think this is important. Like you say, you don't know what you don't know. And so I think from a male perspective, the sort of the give to gain is really important, because I think it's like that sort of the piece of the cake at the moment for a lot of things. Men have that hook. They might, like, they've been given that cake historically. You might not have taken that sort of cake, like I haven't, sort of thing, but I understand that I have that privilege, I have those advantages.
Absolutely.
And it's important for me and for all men to give some of that back, or not even, they don't even need to directly give it. You don't need my permission to give you these rights and these privileges and these advantages. But what I can do and what other men can do is just take away that barrier, and give you the opportunities to take it for yourself and to have it for yourself. I think that's what it's important, that men need to be willing and feel that they can, because there are expectations that on men that they need to be the ones in charge, and they need to be the ones that fix things. I think that's also, that comes with detriment, doesn't it? Because a lot of oh my God, I mention my husband quite a lot, bless him. He gets brought up in all sorts of conversation. It's not a negative thing, but I remember saying to him not that long ago, so a friend had said that he felt that he needed to be the breadwinner, all those male characteristics that is in our life. And I said to my husband, do you feel that? I was like, no, which is great. But that's sometimes, is it that we see it as that men are putting women
down, women aren't getting as much support and that full cake, but is it that it's driven from a fear perspective? So it's interesting, isn't it? Think of, like, we don't truly know what's going on in people's lives and their rationale to why they do the things that they do, but it could be something like...
Yeah, it's like, obviously there will be men in the world that they think that, you know, it's their rights and their privilege, you know, to take that and things like
absolutely.
that, and that they want to be that person who is the breadwinner, who is, you know, the one in charge. But there are also men who feel like they, like you say, like,
the Victorian
of, like
vibe.
they have to, in order to be a real man, you have to take like that. I sort of, like, through my transition, obviously I came into this space, and then sort of all of a sudden it's like, I feel like I'm expected to be, you know, the man, or to help and to be the supportive one. And it's like, well, and I was sort of like,
how was
well,
that? I bet that was difficult to go from for people's expectations to change of you, but you haven't changed. So how did that?
I mean, I'm quite lucky that, for me, I like, in my family, that I was always accepted, and I was sort of never put in that sort of box. I haven't sort of had those sort of but I think where I suppose where I sort of noticed it most is in my own head, I guess, because sort of just before I transitioned, I realised that, you know, all throughout my life I'd always dated men and I'd always been attracted to men, but at some point in my life I sort of realised, actually, I'm also attracted to women, and sort of, but I didn't want to be in a romantic relationship with a woman. But I think that was because I had this, when I transitioned, I had this expectations that if I'm in a relationship with a woman, in a sort of seemingly heterosexual relationship, then I have man.
This character.
This sort of, like, you know, the sort of who you know, the dominant one, the one who has to be the caretaker, who has to, you know, that sort of thing, and that's not. I am a caretaker, and, you know, I want to look after people and things like that. But being that sort of stereotypical, that's not me. So I thought, I have to be like that if I'm in a relationship with a woman.
That's hard.
But when I sort of, like, learnt more about myself and learnt more about the different ways to be a man, that sort of fell away, and I feel more comfortable potentially being in a relationship with a woman, as long as, you know, that doesn't expect me to be that sort of that, you know, blokey kind of thing, because I'm definitely not.
I mean, I'm 37 years old and I'm still trying to figure it out, Matt. You know, I don't really know what box I'm in. I'm not sure there should be a box, and I think it's growing when you grow and you become a little bit less apologetic for who you are, and you try not to be a certain way or a certain person because you don't want people to portray you in a different way. Like, I'm just here for just being me and very unapologetically me.
I think it's easier because we work in sort of the NHS, which is, I mean, 81% is female, so we don't see that so glaringly obvious, because we are sort of, we see people.
We're the opposite to what the norm is, apparently. From a corporate perspective, we are, aren't we?
On a day-to-day basis, do I see that? Well, no, because I see the sort of leadership that females and the opportunities that they have in the NHS. So it's am I sort of not seeing the full picture of society because of where I
work?
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We don't know what we don't know, do we? There's that Dunning-Kruger effect again.
But I think this generation, they are sort of questioning the stereotypes and why.
I mean, everyone's going to experience their challenges generationally. I think it seems good, doesn't it, that that this generation seems a little bit more aware and they're learning things. Well, we'd like to think we're getting better, but the gender pay gap is still on our plans, and it's still in discussion today, which has been ongoing since the 1930s. Probably not at the rate that we maybe should be. Yes, from an understanding, but physically we might not be. Okay, so we're moving on to, we're going to talk about International Women's Day in its entirety. So we'll move on to Helen.
So that's, I mean, it's been the 115th International Women's Day. So
that's powerful, isn't it, guys? Yeah. We've come forward.
So it's just having that little celebration. I think just highlighting. It's a shame that we have to have one day to sort of have that sort of main conversation. And we've had sort of walkabouts and everything like that, and people go, why haven't we had the International Men's Day? Well, we do, but I think that this has more traction, that we have to sort of have that.
Yeah, because of history, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's exactly what we've just been saying there.
We get the same thing when we have Pride, and you always get somebody go, oh, I've got Pride for you, you're just shoving it down. You're not, please, you can marry
it's
now.
A celebration.
You can marry now. What more do you want?
But the thing is, for me, is that it's a celebration. It's not a time where this week in March we're going to be pro-women. That's not the case. This is just a reminder of how far we've come, and that we're nowhere near where we need to be, and that, like lots of things, it might not be rectified in our lifetime. We're just trying to say these words, think deeply, be more mindful of what we're doing and what our place is in society, and an understanding of other people's journey. And I think that's the powerful thing. And today, International Women's Week, International Women's Day is a time to just reflect, celebrate, and move forward.
And it also mentions that giving support means calling out stereotypes, challenging discrimination, questioning bias, celebrating women's success, and a lot more. And having that knowledge and encouragement of others is key, and that's all on this sort of information that's on the website. So I think that we do sort of do that in our own celebrations, sort of our planning. Absolutely. We're doing sort of walkabouts, meeting up with people. We are doing this podcast. We are doing the Wonder Woman events, and just having that comms out to sort of shine a spotlight on the 81% of our sort of workforce.
Absolutely. Massive workforce.
Yeah.
We do amazing things. And a lot of women, and again, this is probably stereotypical, are, have working full time at home, running a household. And I'm very fortunate in that I've got a partner. I'm married, and my other half does a lot at home, because we don't follow that Victorian norm. Our viewpoint on life is we have a family together. We're a team together. So I'm very, very fortunate. But I was I grew up looking at more of a Victorian relationship family, which I was like, this is not me. I know this is not what I want. So I'm mindful that talking to those 80% in our workforce, that they're going to potentially leave this role and go back to a role full time. Or they could be single parents or whatever. So so it's a celebration of that power women can possess, and the struggles that they experience, and that vulnerability and pressure and shame, guilt, stuff that is just deep rooted in us.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about the Give to Gain campaign, and they've given examples of like give respect, give visibility, give knowledge, give justice, give a voice, give credit, give opportunities, safety, training. There's lots of things that we can give on a day-to-day basis. Which
brings us nicely to this year we've decided to ask people to make a pledge. So what's their pledge to support Give to Gain for 2026 International Women's Day? Matt, what is it? We're going straight to you. What's your pledge?
I think my pledge is, give time for listening to women's voices, listening to women's stories. An insight is like how I can maybe be a little more supportive, even just like little things. I don't need to, try to change the world. I'm never going to do that. But just like if I can make one of my colleagues or, my mum's life.
That's amazing. Love that.
A bit easier.
Love that.
It's just a massive gain for people around me and for me personally as well.
Yeah, I think listening is like such a skill.
Yeah.
Like to be actively listening and hearing. Like listening to you earlier, I can hear that journey, which is actually shocked me hearing that. I probably thought that was things are challenging, but listeners, I think that active listening is so good. Helen, what's your pledge?
So my pledge is to stay curious.
Oh,
I think that will sort of link in with active listening.
Absolutely.
It is not making assumptions that as a woman, that woman will need sort of the same things as me. It's sort of looking at the individual.
Yeah.
So staying curious is my pledge.
Oh God, that's good. I really like this. That's really powerful. God, I don't know what to do after that.
No pressure now.
No pressure. So
really
my pledge is to try and empower others. I've been qualified and working for North Tees for the last 10 years. As I started my career as a novice physio, I was very vulnerable. I try and tell people that all of the time. Like, I didn't know anything. I was trying to learn, and sometimes I would be scared to speak up with the fear of my colleagues. And as I'm getting, going through my career, and I feel more experienced and more able to ask even silly questions, like I'm quite happy to ask, like, what does that mean, even though someone probably thinks I should have known that, because that's powerful. So my pledge is to give my colleagues, friends, families, whoever, the hello I'm sorry, the phone ringing in the background has put me off. That support to speak up. So that's my pledge, is to support all women around me.
Great. I'm sure you do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you don't think to when you're in your moment. So, right, we've got this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, as a mother of 2 teenage boys, I'm doing my bit on sort of...
Yes, that's good. Yes.
that I'm questioning there, and I would hope that I'm not... I'm questioning why they think a certain way, so that good. They would just see people as equals. Yeah.
Do you know, because I'm a mother of 3 girls, 3 daughters, that I'm trying to be very sex positive around them. I'm very much about, like, roles, we're not very... everything's quite blended. But I never really thought about that. Like, as a mother of 2 sons, how you're trying to distill it in a different, that's really good.
I'm trying to get them to be a partner who doesn't need a list to tell them what they need to do.
Yeah. Oh wow. Helen's sons.
They're not taking the bit.
They're going to be amazing. What force you reckon with? That's good though. That's
my priority.
That's such a nice thing, isn't it? But because you like your own things that you face as a woman, and then you're trying to distill that positivity on your children, which is really nice. So yeah. But it's been great talking to you guys.
Yes, and you.
We'll do it again next year.
Yeah, we've gone down lots of...
I love a rabbit hole. Oh, yeah. We love a rabbit hole. And I think hopefully it's been eye-opening and thought-provoking and inspiring. And, next year you might want to come and join us and be part of our little chat.
I've got all sorts of these, all sorts of complaints about, size of pockets, women's pockets, tiny. As soon as you get men's pockets, you can actually put stuff in them, and it's great.
Women's pockets are tiny. I haven't got any pockets today. I've been trying to put my phone in my leg. It's fell on the floor twice.
Yeah, it's these little things you don't notice until you sort of, seen it.
Mine is mirrors in bathrooms. Because I'm so short, when you go into a bathroom, the mirror is down, or the shelf at the top of Asda, we can't reach the top shelf. Like, I might have to ask someone to.
I've still got that problem because obviously testosterone does a lot. Clearly, my voice and my beard and that
doesn't make you grow.
It doesn't make you grow, unfortunately.
Testosterone, try harder.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, it was like, I went from being average height or maybe above average height to being below average height. It was like, I haven't changed. I haven't.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I hope everyone has a lovely International Women's Day.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us. Till next time, you've been listening to Tees Voices.